The Caribbean is often described as the most tourism dependent region in the world. A titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley, and welcome to the first in our series of podcasts. I am absolutely delighted. We call it Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry, men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in the region, and indeed the world. In this, our first podcast of Tourism Titans, we speak with the Honourable Edmund Bartlett, Jamaica's highly decorated and hard-working Minister of Tourism. He has had more awards than I can count. Among them, Caribbean Tourism Minister of the Year at the Caribbean Travel Awards 2017, Pacific Area Travel Writers Association, PATWA, Tourism Minister of the Year for 2018, the 2019 Travi Awards, Chairman's Award for Global Tourism Innovation, the Gleaner Hospitality Jamaica 2019 Pioneer Award, and he was recently inducted into the Global Tourism Hall of Fame and received the Travel Pulse Award for Global Innovation, among many others. This is a long way from George's Plain, Westmoreland. Minister, how you do? Take us back to your childhood.
Oh, thank you so much, Marlene. Childhood, that's a little way down the road.
Yes. What did you want to be?
But it's interesting how childhood for me was a mix of being a child and an adult, kind of. I grew up in a very rural community, which is characterized by the trappings of the plantation. Mm-hmm. So sugar and its derivatives were the basis on which we understood even what life was about. We grew up with people cutting cane, weeding cane, harrowing cane, transporting cane, grinding cane at the factory, making juice from it, then sugar, and then rum. And then we saw the effect of that in terms of the community development and how the workers behaved, what happened on a Friday when they get their pay, how they spent it even, yes, and also how the social evolution within our communities, happened over the time, with somehow the feeling that the zenith of your achievement would be to work as a scale clerk or as a busher eventually. Well, busher was a little out of your way because the ethno, what you call the phenotype, did not match you. So busher was kind of off scale a little. But you could look at being a good scale clerk, a lab technician in the distillery.
Distillery, yes.
And so on. So, but then the educational opportunities in communities like those were limited to, elementary school or primary school, as it evolved into. And then the opportunity for the very few to get a scholarship to high school. I was fortunate to be one of the very few that got a scholarship to high school. But church and community clubs played an important role in those little communities also. Church, I think, had a more dominant role in that this was the sort of repository of the moral values of the community. And
so you had to attend church on a Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You look forward to that. But also it helped to shape your life, to determine your sense of right and wrong. And it critically affected your choice. What decisions you made and choices that flow from it. Then there's the question of your peers and and how they again evolved over time. What do they do? What we all did for leisure, for ring games.
What were
and
some of the things you did?
the
for
ring
leisure?
games and hopscotch and playing marble and
You used to set springe and
playing
those kinds of
gig.
things.
You know what playing gig is?
Of course,
Yes, of course.
yes,
And
having
springes and
marbles. And
yeah, we went out to shoot birds with catapults that were made
and
from
climb
the
mango
sticks
tree
of,
and
yeah,
those kinds of things.
and cherry trees and so on and so on. So these were nice childhood things that you did, but you also had chores as a child, because in our community you had no electricity or running water, and there was no paved macadamized roads like you guys have. So we all had to go to what we call the wood bush to look wood
For the fire,
for
yes.
the fire, so that our parents could cook and so on. And then we had to also go to the spring to get water. And all those things you had to carry on your head,
Water and
water
wood.
and wood on your head, yeah.
Barrels of wood and drawers of water.
And then the women of the community would go down to the river to wash on wash days, which was usually Monday
All right.
and on Wednesdays. And then the ironing day now, the day when they would press out the clothes, it would be Friday,
All right.
And then the butcher's stall, the butcher's house. They didn't have nice words like abattoir, like you have now. We just called the butcher shop.
Yes.
Right? And that's a Friday too. So we all look forward as kids to the slaughtering of the pigs and the goats and the cows and so on, right? And then the various quarters. That's what we would get in the community, because the prime part of the beef would be gone to the estate and all those people who work and were more highly heeled than we were. But the hind quarters, the leg, the foot, as you call it, cow foot. That was the cow tail, and then we had a little old lady named Miss Knight who would then deal with the entrails, and she would spend time cleaning it up, and that made great soup. So those were the kind of things. And the skin, the cow skin, of course, yes. So that was what community was. But then sports. And I love sports. I was a cricketer. I played good cricket to a very high level eventually. But being a little lad, I always was playing with the senior guys. I was never seen playing with my age group. So I became an umpire, for example, at about the age of 10, 11.
Wow.
I mean, amazing. And standing up at these community matches and used to have a cricket competition called the Arthur Norton Cricket Competition, which was among community clubs around. And so I would go and be an umpire.
Oh, right. At that age.
And they took, and they had regard for my decision as an umpire. So all of those are early formative years that helped to craft who you would become, in fact, I think, and the confidence that you would develop in your own judgment and your abilities. Then the church provided a tremendous background for that for me.
Did you sing in the choir or any
I
such thing?
did everything in church. I sang in the choir, I recited, I preached, I taught at Sunday school.
And it wasn't on the days when it rained and Parson didn't show?
No, absolutely not. I mean, as a matter of fact, I became something of a phenomenon, a child prodigy, a child phenomenon in church, and would
So
go.
some thought you might become a preacher?
Indeed. I mean, it was marked out. My mother had that very clearly marked out in her mind, that's you. You're going to be a minister of the gospel. You're probably going to be a bishop or something, but that's you. And all of the indications were pointing in that direction until you got to university. And then
I was about to ask, until you
and
got
then,
to Stets,
and then,
or
no,
was it
Stets
later?
was still very much involved in everything at Stets.
One word to describe your mom.
My mom was many persons, shall I say, many people in one person. She was mother.
So then it's not one word then. So tell me a few words to describe.
No, my mother is an absolute phenomenal woman. She was mother, wife, worker, caregiver, everything. I mean, my mother was a unique creation of God. Absolutely unique creation of God. How she did it, only God knows. You know, with 9 children.
I was about to ask you how many siblings. I didn't realize it was
9
that many.
children overall.
Wow. How many boys? How many
know,
girls?
I think there are 3 girls and 6 boys. And she managed it. And
What
I'm
about
telling-
your dad? I mean,
I
your
have to
dad.
write. I have to write in my memoirs a very special section, not chapter, section on my mother, because Edith Clark said my mother who fathered me, and that became quite a signature piece of sociological explanation of the
Yes.
Jamaican family situation. But my father's life and his involvement in community and everything took him away from us. He became more of a community man than a family man in the sense, and maybe that's what I've become too in a little way. So that's why I glory in my mother in the way that I do. Yeah. So Stets was quite an interesting experience. Stets,
I figure you were head boy at
I was
Stets,
everything.
and you did a lot of
from first form
co-curricular
straight through
activities.
until I left.
What at
I
Stets?
taught while I was a student there. I taught evening classes for teachers when they were not able to attend, when there was a missing teacher for the first form, you know, when I was in fourth form and having done GC and passed already, they asked me to go and teach. You know, I was president of the Students' Council, president of SCM, you know, cadet, captain of the cricket team. I mean, the debating.
You took on a
society.
number of leadership roles.
So all of those things seem to have been part of this confluence of preparatory activities that the divine had been arranging and weaving
that would have
together.
prepared a perfect foundation and being able to manage
So-
your
so
time
when-
and
by
be
the
so
time you got to
multifaceted.
university, you were doing other things. Now you had an interesting confrontation with the church. And that's a discussion. That we have to
Another
have.
discussion.
Yes, 'cause-
But what are some of your favorite memories at UWI?
Oh, well, UWI was quite a day for me. Firstly, my best memories relate to the year I served as chairman of the ICC, that's the Interclubs Committee, on the Guild of Honor.
Yes.
And I established or re-established the Color Awards activity, that is to give recognition to student leaders in various areas of the life of the university. And then to reignite the inter-school debate that the university had supported, the Guild of Honor graduates had supported. And that brought, I think, brought me a bit in the forefront, in that this was all the schools across Jamaica that we were coordinating this debate. I think it sort of brought out some personalities too, like Antoinette Horton. If you,
Yes, I remember
she
Antoinette.
emerged as the most outstanding debater in the competition and got the Michael Manley Trophy.
Okay.
And then there was young Belle from Montego Bay High School. She died recently, but she became a very celebrated artist in Jamaica, actress and so on.
Cornell?
Christine Bell.
Oh, Christine.
Christine Bell. Yeah, she also came out as an outstanding debater from Montego Bay. So Antoinette was from Excelsior, and she was from
Montego Bay High.
Bay. So that gave us an opportunity to have, just after Michael Manley won in '72, the first outing for him. So his inaugural speech
Yes.
was given at the university at our Color Award ceremony,
Wow.
at which we also made the presentation for the outstanding debaters and so on, and the school that won the challenge trophy. So that, I think, was a high point. I played cricket for the university for 4 years. I mean, I
Were you a batsman or a
both,
or a bowler?
both all rounder.
Okay,
yeah.
all rounder.
Right. So, my life there was very interesting, very exciting. We made great friends, really
Friends
great
that you have
friends.
till today.
Enduring to today.
Yes.
But there was something about that period. There was a greater sense of Caribbean integration among, because my hall, for example, Irving, was perhaps the
I
most
was in Irving,
integrated.
too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's why you're such a wonderful person. That was a melting pot. I mean, we had a spine, and the spine was where it all happened. Everybody came, and we would have real fun. And in the early years there, we used to have formal dinners. University doesn't have, after I think the second year or so, they stopped having.
If you take a look at the museum at the university, which is at the headquarters across the road, you will see all that fine bone china and
yes.
all of the stuff that you would have
I'm
to go
telling
to
you,
formal
the
dinners.
whole
and it was-
business of gastronomy
yes,
in its height,
That's another level.
and more so the social graces.
Yes.
I mean, the university was also for refinement. It wasn't just for academic excellence. It was also for building the human character.
Yes, and your
to-
professional
yes.
etiquette and grace and
Yes.
poise and all of that.
We dispense with a bit of that, and I'm not sure how helpful it has been
Yeah.
in creating the new university that has now become quite a less than delightful place for a lot of people. It's an amazing pain that you bear sometimes just to look at what is there.
Yes.
It's painful when you hear the stories
So we don't always have to throw
and
out
the
the baby with
safety
the bathwater.
issues
Yes,
exactly
yes,
at the university. I think there were a lot of powerful, strong character building, activities
that
that
perhaps
we
no longer
dispense
exist.
with,
Yes.
and that I believe has had a deleterious effect on the image and in my mind, the vitality of the university.
Let's talk a little bit about your first job.
Oh, my first job.
Out of university.
That's interesting. My
What are the
first job.
options open
Wow.
to
Well, first of all,
vivacious young country boy?
I worked every holiday, and interestingly, the first place I worked is the university, because I left high school straight, and the summer, I got a summer job at the purchasing department of the university. And I worked with them there almost every summer until the last year.
Okay, so you know how
Yeah.
beneficial an internship program
Absolutely,
is.
yes.
Hence something like the Spruce of Jamaica Tourism Summer Intern
absolutely.
Program.
And then, of course, the last year I got a holiday job with ICD at their King Street, I think it was Home Electrics, one of their subsidiaries. And we were doing a billing system for them. I can't forget that. And then, so the first real job, then, is with Revere Bauxite Company on leaving Newey. I went straight there, and I spent about 9 months because they ran into some difficulty afterwards. In fact, they had to close. But then I went to Texaco after. So Texaco essentially became the real job experience, because I stayed there until I leave to become a minister. And I rose, to the position of marketing manager for Jamaica and Grand Cayman during all of that. And of course, my family developed from within that experience too. I got married, we got my first child, my second child, and then I went and dabbled in politics initially there in '76. And my first campaign in a state of emergency, which is another big story that has to be written. And then I got promoted and transferred back to Kingston in this new position of marketing manager, and then got deeper into the JLP politics.
Why politics?
Well, because politics provided still the most important way of truly influencing the lives of a nation. It's not just being a social worker. It's not just being industrialist, and all these are very important, but to be fashioning legislation and determining laws and how the society is ordered and organized and managed is I think the supreme task of any citizen.
Yes.
And it is something that is pretty divinely guided too. And so much care has to be taken in execution, because a wrong decision doesn't impact you, it impacts the nation.
The nation, yes.
And so much care has to be taken in that. So I think the business of politics is perhaps the highest calling, because it's being what I believe God wants you to be, right? The custodian of the rights of man, not the abuser, but the custodian of his right. The one
so
who
your
upholds,
job is one of stewardship.
Yes, that upholds this, and in doing so, you have to think of so many things, and in addition to which, the idiosyncrasies of so many have to be, contended with, and in contending create harmony, because in the end, that's what the objective is, harmony.
Yeah.
So the politician's role then is to harmonize all the disparate
pieces, bring them together.
Yes.
Yeah. And you won't always agree, but we can agree to disagree.
Of course, because
and the greater good.
What that agreement does is to recognize the differences,
Yes.
and to not make the differences become a point of separation, but one of appreciating
and respecting, yes,
and respecting who you are and what you are. So the politicians get a lot of bashing for various reasons, and it's too because of some of the things I've just said. If you have to contend with different views, varying approaches, and different attitudes and idiosyncrasies, you're bound to have a situation where one or two clash from time to time. And where that happens, you always get the wrong end of the expressions. So that's fine, as long as you are, focused, and you really are doing it for the right reasons.
Yes. And for the greater good.
Indeed.
The greater good. Any role models or mentors?
Wow. A reverend gentleman remains in my mind and I'm sure forever till I die, Reverend Nelson, Vernon Nathaniel Nelson, who was the pastor in my little district in George's Plain when I was a child. I think that the impact of him and his ministry on my life and development is indelible, and it really has done a lot to fashion and structure my own sense of, of right and wrong, and how to comport yourself in dealing with people, because he had a unique way, I think, of settling disputes and making people feel comfortable and happy. Because that was his job. That's what ministers do. Ministers go between
conciliation.
Exactly. I think I've learned a lot in that way from him. On the political scene, there's there's a whole, how do I put this? Because I think Edward Seago had the dominant influence on us. I mean, in fairness, 30 odd years of my political life was under his kind of either leadership directly or indirectly. As a matter of fact, I think that his mode of conducting business, his sense of duty and his assiduity was infectious. And that has helped to fashion the way I operate and work, in the ministry and elsewhere. I wouldn't say I'm a workaholic, but
you have a tremendous work ethic, Minister Bartlett.
And I think Edward Seago has instilled that in us. And if you see Babsy Grange, for example, Minister Grange, how you could see she's selfless
and tenacious.
So that I think everybody has their up and down, and it is for you to take the ups and make the ups work for you. So I took Seaga's ups, and I believe we've not done that.
It has served you well. Yes. A little birdie told me, and I know it to be true, that you've always served with a lot of passion, whether it was in sports or in culture, or whatever it is, you bring the same tenacity to the job. And as I said, the people in the Ministry of Tourism and all of the public bodies that are associated, and I'm sure your colleagues and your friends, know you for this tenacity to your job and your sense of purpose. What motivates you?
Well, I go back to childhood and this role model, this minister.
Reverend gentleman.
Yeah, because he too had passion. I mean, he was musician, pastor, teacher, preacher,
counselor,
community man, counselor, builder. He would get out there and do construction work like anybody else to build the church, the physical structure, and so on and so forth, and go to visit people. Now, one of the things he did most, that I think, was his relationship with the people, the ordinary people. He went and visited almost everybody in the community. So he knew them by name.
The shut-ins, the sick, everybody.
Right. So that sort of, say, he had a motto which said, it's better to work out than to rust out.
Okay.
And that sort of stuck with me, that you mustn't sit and become a fossil. You work, because that's what your dash is limited. Fill it with activities. Do what you must and continue to do it until the day when you can do no more. I think that's been a way that I have learned to manage my stewardship of things, relationships, people. I don't lose friends easily. And when I say that, even if I'm a million miles away, and also distance in time, like years I haven't seen you, or so, it changes nothing in relation to that moment when we get together again.
It's like you don't miss a beat, you just pick up right where you left off.
That's how I am. And sometimes it's misunderstood because people believe that you're distant, or you may be aloof, or I'm not sure if they feel selfish. I'm not so sure about that. But certainly...
But it's interesting you say that, because in speaking with somebody else, and I said, give me one word that you would use to describe Minister Edmund Bartlett, and the first word that came out was genuine.
Oh, well, thank you.
Genuine.
That's very kind. But, this is where my head is. If I am committed to do something, I'm doing it to the end, and I'm seeing it through. I don't leave things hanging, because to do that is to disrespect, the confidence that people have in you, and that's not good. So you try to complete your task. Sometimes you don't do as well as you
would like
to, but
But it's
you've done the
your
best.
best.
Exactly. Exactly.
I believe it was Louise
Exactly.
Bennett Coverley who said to me years ago, she said, you know, Marlene, when you do your best, you can do no
Can
better.
do it better. That's
So
it.
just do your best.
And that's what I strive to do. So the many things that we have touched and covered over the last 47 years
It's been that
in
long.
public life. 47 years.
Wow. That's an
Um,
achievement.
Yeah, 47 years this year. And I figured probably I could make the half century. And
But of course.
yeah, just with a little luck and
course.
God's help.
Of course.
And finish some of what we've started, you know, and I like to do that. One of the things I want to finish is I want to make the Jamaican economy future-proof
Hmm.
from shocks.
Such as pandemics, natural
Epidemics.
disasters, all of those kinds of things that we
And-
have to develop resilience.
And to do that, I believe very firmly that if you build out the capacity of the people of Jamaica to be resilient, to know how to mitigate, manage, and then to recover from
Yes.
these shocks, then the economy would be safe. Because the economy is about the people. It's all about the people. And you miss the boat if you think it's the technology and the machines and even the money. It's all about the people. So I have, in tourism, you notice we spend a lot of time on building human capital.
Yes, a lot of training and development
A
that
lot of
takes
training and
place
development
across
that
the agencies, in fact.
And then we try to give their ability now to utilize resources to convert ideas, and then how to position it, present it, market it. So if we are able to succeed in doing that, I believe our people will be able to pivot and to adapt quickly to changing circumstances, where their job is not drudging 9 to 5, repeated action, but their job is a process where they can innovate and change and adapt as the circumstance determine.
And even if there is a shock that you have to respond to, you can do that in the quickest
That's
possible
what I'm
time,
saying.
and you
That's the
can
whole
come
point.
back stronger.
That's the whole point. So that also requires a change in the content of your education. And that's still my dream and wish, and I speak about that every time I get a chance, and that's one of the reasons I spend so much money, time and effort on the education program in my constituency.
Yes.
That's a signature achievement, if I'm allowed to say one, that I am hugely
Yes, what are you
proud
most
of.
proud about in
Hugely
terms of
proud of.
47 years in public
the
life?
thousands of children all over the world. Every time I travel to any city, there's always one. I go to London and Professor Burroughs comes to me from Augustown, and she brings her students to meet me. I go to Dubai and I see, my student who is now a senior partner in one of the investment firms.
I was at a graduation on the weekend, and I had to mention as well that there were two young ladies
there
in that room who were beneficiaries of that, of a scholarship from the East
all the
Central
people who work for me now
St. James Fund, yes.
in my immediate office at the ministry are students who have passed through our program.
Wonderful.
A young lawyer, my special assistant, she was at the function,
Yes.
right? And then the girls who work at the office, both of them came. All three, the boy as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And we have medical students right now in China that we support.
Across the gamut of
Across
careers
the
that you would have impacted, and perhaps had they not been given that opportunity,
Absolutely.
it would not have
Absolutely.
happened for them. And that's
So
such
so
a
that's
wonderful building
been,
block.
yes, and the reason that I continue to do this is that there is also an attrition, which is painful, because not everybody who is a beneficiary of the program utilize it well.
Ah,
And it pains me sometimes to see what has happened to some.
right.
Um,
A wasted
you know,
opportunity.
But the glory of the achievement of so many others.
I think it's the law of
continue to
averages.
this. Yeah.
Some will fall.
Some will fall,
Yeah, some
yes.
will fall by the wayside,
Well,
and the others will make you
The
immensely
good Lord,
proud.
the good Lord had a good story to tell, which is not really helpful to us. We are the other 9, but
Yes.
even that one
Yes.
must inspire you to continue to do more good.
Yes.
Right?
What do you do for relaxation, Edmund Bartlett? What do you do? How do you let you? Well, you don't have too much hair these days, but how do you let
Well, I
your
must
hair
tell you,
down?
I like to dance when we get a chance. It's
Ah,
not
yes,
very
I've
often.
seen you at it.
Yeah, it's not very often, but when I get a chance, I like to dance. And you know, as I said, I used to play good cricket, and so that was. Now I play a little more indoor games like dominoes. I play a lot of dominoes with, you know, and I enjoy sitting on discourses. You know, we have this university center, the Global Tourism Resilience.
Yes.
Okay. And that for me provides a lot of opportunity for mental relaxation. You know, we sit down and have great long discussions on various aspects of human development, and you know, and what are the trends. It's funny, I'm fascinated by looking, you know, at metaphysics, and
You read a lot.
yeah. and I enjoy looking into the future and seeing what's possible based on this technology that is developing, this capability that the technology has, you know, for innovation and for reimagining
Yes,
things.
transformation.
It's amazing. So even when I go to visit other countries, and nowadays we go to universities because we're setting up centers
Yes.
in a number of universities. We end up with very long and very interesting discussions with professors on future trends. So I get a lot of excitement out of that, I must tell you. And I'm not working.
Because you're doing what you love.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite place to visit? You know, you've visited many countries, you know, just heralding Jamaica's.
You know, suppose I
Readiness
tell
for
you the
tourists,
truth,
but
the
which-
hard, cold truth. My favorite place to visit is Jamaica. Amazing place Jamaica is.
So as Jamaica's chief,
there is nothing that excites me more than coming back home from a trip to anywhere, because the feeling is so different. I think I appreciate Jamaica so much more by going to other places.
so as Jamaica's chief salesman and chief spokesman for our tourism product, sell me Jamaica. Tell me, why should I
no.
come to Jamaica, which is
Oh,
your
no.
favorite place
No,
to
well,
visit?
I tell you one good. The thing I sell most is this great idea called Jamaica. You know, we're not a country; we're an idea, and you are made of ideas. So if you want to find yourself and be yourself,
Come to Jamaica.
come to Jamaica, sharing this great idea. You know, when our forefathers crafted the motto "Out of many one," that was a great inspiration. And it was a statement being made about this idea of Jamaica, that we could be the place for everyone and anyone, and that race and color and class and creed were insignificant,
Don't matter.
right? Because what we are a confluence of all those things. We're just a mosaic, a melting pot of humanity. And that's why
Ooh-wee.
Jamaica will survive and we will not die.
How do you remain so upbeat? Because I remember throughout the pandemic, and there's a lot of despair, a lot of hopelessness in some instances. How do you remain so upbeat, so positive, despite a lot of the challenges that we've had and continue to have in some respects?
Yesterday I spoke at Christmas in July, and sometimes my speeches are not easily reproduced because they tend to be a little deeper in terms of thought rather than expressing hard, economic outturns or even direct policy relation. So I spoke about future-proofing the market, the industry, and looking ahead with what I call the sense of the longer view, to see what the trends are, so we know how to act.
Right, because we can anticipate. We can prepare.
And when I started talking about resilience, the world was talking about sustainability, as you know, and not sustainability only. And when we set up the first resilience center, it was 2 years before the pandemic. And when I went to Kenya to establish the first one in December of 2019.
And this was before?
Yes. In 2021, when I went back to see them, they called me a prophet. I said, why? He said, because we don't understand. You established this thing in December 29, and by March, the world had declared a pandemic. So the way we have operated in tourism in Jamaica has been to look at all the things that need to come together to shore up this industry. Not the marketing, not the product development, not the psychosocial engagement that is important, but the mix of all. And to be able to see that in a single picture and to then craft policy programs and activities around it is what makes us able to anticipate the next move. So when we go to the Middle East and we're saying we want to enter that market, but we're not just wanting to enter that market, we want to open a gateway, because that gateway now allows Asia, North Africa,
to have access
and to work with the big airlines. That is to say a recession may come, can come, will come.
Yes.
But when it comes and we fall from market one,
you would have diversified sufficiently
that we
to
can
benefit from
increment from market 2 and 3.
Yes.
And that's really what we're doing. So the other thing is, who are the drivers of tourism? They are the small and medium and micro enterprises.
Yes.
And Jamaica has led the way in that. We've talked a lot about it, but we've done. You know the story well, right? We train, we finance, we market, right? And we put more people benefiting from tourism now than ever before.
And people are actually recognizing that trickle-down effect.
And it's not trickling down anymore. It's
and
up.
all of the different areas that are feeding
that's
into
right.
the industry.
So it's not trickling. It's up.
It's going up.
Yes, because these are the experiences that people buy. That's why they travel. And so the more things there are for people to do, to experience, to consume, it's the more people who will come. All right. So my last point on that, future-proofing, is that don't worry about diversification of the economy. Go ahead and diversify the economy. Because the more things you do to create jobs and provide income, it's the more opportunities you have for travel.
Yes.
And the more reasons you give for people
To want
visit
to come.
Jamaica. So tourism will grow exponentially if the economy is diversified.
Yes. Quite an interesting insight. And I certainly hope that persons who are even from the diaspora who are listening in are taking notes, because it also presents a lot of opportunities for
them.
persons from
Oh, yes.
outside
Oh,
who
yes.
are Jamaicans but are
Absolutely,
elsewhere.
absolutely. Because tourism is driven by ideas. And every idea you have has a potential to be an income generating activity. Every idea. Yesterday I said, can you imagine people make money in tourism from having 2 crabs race?
Yes, I remember those days.
Yes. And Soldier,
Yes,
Soldier did
yes,
it.
I remember them. The Holiday Inn in Montego Bay was famous for crab races, and my mom would take us there on an occasional Sunday.
So you don't have to be
go and
a
bet
rocket
and have
scientist.
fun and, yes.
Right, you needn't even have been to school. You just University of Life,
Yes.
So this is a great way, I think, of transferring wealth from the rich to the poor.
Yes.
Tourism.
Minister, I'm going to switch a little bit on you. You've been married for over 40 years. Give us some advice as to how do you fan the flames of love when you
Lord,
are...
that's
when
strong.
you're,
As a matter of fact, I'm leaving you to go and make sure that the flame still flickers. No, but we are 48, going 49 years.
Wow.
But, if you add a little bit before that, it's probably a little over 50.
Wow.
It's, I tell you, it's a lot of what I said earlier about understanding and knowing the idiosyncrasies and how you make the differences not become a point of division
Yes.
in your life, but the differences you see as part of what is unique and what needs sometimes to help to give energy and effort to a process.
Yes.
Because if both of you were seeing eye to eye on every matter, how monotonous and
That would
crazy
be.
it would be. So I think that by itself it's not about being at home every day of the week and being overpouring at it. No, it is about understanding who you have and how to make her happy.
That sounds so sweet. I have 2 quick questions for you, Minister, because I know our time is running out. But if you had an autobiography, what would the title be?
It's a very interesting one, actually. Somebody's, about 2 or 3 people working on something. But an autobiography might very well be the journey from Jane Marks to the world.
Jane Marks
to the world.
to the world. And what would you want your legacy of all these many years in the Jamaican political environment and in the Ministry of Tourism, different iterations, the collection of all of what you
Human
have
capital development.
done?
Human capital development. Human capital development. There can be nothing more critical to your memory than the lives that you have touched to make them enriched. And the enrichment of life is not just money, it's a whole strong character. It's about the deeper and more lasting qualities of a man. And if you could allow your life to shine in somebody else's life, yes, that's my biggest and most enduring legacy. We've had Block and Steel, yes. The things I do in East Central St. James now. We build communities.
Yes.
We build in Grange Pen now, literally, from scratch, as you can see. We build Lilliput. We build Barton. We made over Barton. We build a new community called Edmund Ridge now.
Yes.
So
Wonderful
we do
development.
those things. But they are not as critical in terms of the legacy as when we have been able to change a life and influence the behavior of somebody for good.
Honorable Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism for Jamaica, it has been an absolute pleasure. I have so many other questions for you, but I have to set you free.
Yes, you have to.
From George's Plain to the world.
Or Jane Max.
Thank you so much for being my special
Remember,
guest.
I told you about how our little community was structured too. They had many little streets, and every street had a name, not of a person per se, but of a district. So the street became a district. So in George's Plain you had many little districts, and one of them is Jane Marks.
Jane Marks, all right. So from Jane Marks, George's Plain to the world.
To the world, yes.
Thank you so much. It
Bless
has been
you.
an absolute pleasure. Have yourself a great day today and travel safely as you take some time to fan the flames of love. Thank you so much for listening to Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letusknow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCOJA. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. See you soon.